guys, Sullivan Owen here in Philadelphia. So I don't think you guys have seen me. I'm sitting at my desk and I'm going to do a video about seeds. And I was going to do it like standing at the table with all the seed packets everywhere, but it actually, all the seed planting and cut flower seed starts require a lot of computer work. So I thought that we would try this. I'm going to sit at my desk. I can screen capture I can show you guys my worksheet, my Excel spreadsheet that I keep everything on, and we'll just kind of talk through some of the seed. I have my whole inventory of seeds that I own, and I'll show you guys how I plan for what to start when, and I'll talk a little bit about what I learned last year starting seeds and what I'm doing a little bit differently this year. So let's talk about a floral designer's seed starting for her cut flower garden, which honestly, it's like my entire garden is a cut flower garden. I know that people intentionally plan plots where they can cut from, but my goal with our entire property is to make it so lush and wild and abundant that I can go cut what I need to make a few arrangements and you won't even notice that I've been cutting. So that's really the ultimate goal. So that's our backyard behind me. We're at the other end of my studio office, and I'm gonna, this is Flossie, my pet flamingo. She has quite a story that maybe we'll save for someday, but she was a gift from my dad, and she is older than I am. So let's look at the computer and look at the seeds that I am starting for 2020. All right. Okay, so jumping into the worksheet, let's see. I would say that you can kind of keep whatever you like in your spreadsheets, but I have a few different tabs down here that you can see. And the 2020 seeds was a way for me to take, I didn't organize my seeds last year, so this year I went through what I had left, things that I didn't know. I guess I should back up a little bit. I didn't know a lot about growing anything from seeds. So being a floral designer, I have a good amount of experience with specific varieties and color and things like that. But I ordered like a lot of certain seeds, more than you need as a home gardener. And as I am not a flower farmer, nor am I planning my beds to farm, I really don't need to buy the same quantity of flowers. And maybe that was last year's lesson, is like you don't need 6 packages of the same color pansy seed. But at the same time, I think where I'll show you where I maybe skewed too far and I've tried maybe too many varieties. So specific to like sweet pea, I think I have 10 different colors and style varieties of sweet pea. That's probably a few too many, but as a designer, it's hard to resist like all the great choices. And you could probably grow 50 colors of sweet pea if you were a flower farmer or just a sweet pea enthusiast. But I think that for me, I am always optimistic, thinking like this is going to be the last year of like the big renovations in the yard, and I'm realizing that it's going to be at least another year to 2 years before everything kind of falls into the place that I am dreaming of for it. So the idea that I can just grow these things from seed and fill out my beds with all these annuals that I've started from seed while I wait for my perennials to start to fill in the spaces. This is another trial year. This is a year to try lots of different types of flowering annuals, primarily annuals. I'm growing a few perennials from seed, and then see what I like, and then start to whittle this down as the perennial beds start to take shape. So we'll do this in a future video, but we're having a lot of tree work done. We're having a whole area, 2 whole areas of the yard completely cleared of old trees. It's something that we've needed to do for a while. And with my recent interest in the last couple of years with gardening, I am really excited to have a more blank canvas to start with, but it's also, it's really overwhelming. And so I even feel like the number of seeds I'm trying this year is maybe a few too many, and I'm not sure I'm going to even get to all of them. But as I try things and grow them and put them in, I have kind of two main planting areas in our garden that I can try these things in. If I like them, if they perform well, if they like our climate, then I can kind of add them to the future list, because I will have to keep filling in with annuals and some of my favorite flowers and things like that while we work on the kind of big structural elements, structural planting in the garden. So, all right. So this is year 2. This is, I have footage of my little seed starting area. And just jumping over here, everything's alphabetized, and I'll just kind of go through. Let me see. I was also pulling up how many screens does one person need to make a video. Oh, good. I'm glad we found this. All right. So, well, first off, one of the myths that I really fell into last year, and I'm happy to share with you guys my experience, is that dispelling this idea that starting from seed is more affordable. That's really going to depend on how much equipment you have to start your seeds with. It's stuff that you can use year after year, but you kind of need, to varying degrees, you need some sort of warmth, some source of light. Generally, I'm in Zone 7, Philadelphia. I do have a, very sunny, bright home, but it's not bright enough to grow my seeds. So I think that long term, if I continue to work on this practice of starting some perennials from seeds and primarily focusing on annuals from seeds, I'm obviously going to be saving some of the money that I would have spent at nurseries on pansies and annual plants. I'm like this, I'll show you, I'm growing a bunch of Coleus because I bought far too much of it last year. I really like the color and texture, but I'm trying to grow it from seed, see how that goes. But it isn't necessarily cheaper when you're first starting. You do need supplies, supplies beyond just some potting soil and containers to put them in. The good news is almost everything is reusable from year to year, and I didn't find it too difficult to store the different lights and heat mats that I have. The other obstacle that I definitely did not think of last year, which I'm making, and I'll talk to you about how I planned out what I was going to start when, is that I just kind of threw a bunch of seeds into last year I used a lot of the Jiffy peat pod. Jiffy pods. They're like little peat pellets, and you soak them and they puff up, and it's pretty foolproof. You just kind of drop the seeds in and put them under lights, and a few days later there's a plant. It's amazing, especially for someone like me that has very little experience just in general growing things. If you are able to just start a few seeds in a pot on your windowsill, that is very economical. But if you're going to be investing in grow lights and heat mats and things like that, the next issue that I ran into is that I didn't do a lot of planning. I got a late start for seed starting last year. I had ordered the seeds but didn't plan any of the supplies or how I was going to do it, and it was Valentine's Day, and I just got overwhelmed by how many plants were kind of ready and needing to be potted up and transplanted before I had finished their future beds, and just everything kind of backed up, and I ended up giving away a lot of plants, which is never a bad thing. They were appreciated, but I was disappointed because I didn't get the chance to take my seedlings that I had worked so hard on and really plant them out so that they could do their thing and kind of show their potential. So this year, an important thing that I added to the spreadsheet is this when to start column. I just kind of went through, and I do this list as I'm ordering things. It kind of helps me. Well, the goal of this is to help me from ending up with 17 kinds of sweet pea, or 30 colors of zinnia. So, so the seed sites, I like shopping. I do not enjoy catalogs. I think they just are like clutter and waste of paper and waste of mail resources. So, I like just going on the websites and seeing, almost all of these websites have a way to like notify you if something's out of stock or when something's going to be available again. So, paper catalogs for me, just not my favorite thing, because as you can see, I kind of clip art photo, or from the seed site, I take a photo from their site and put it into my worksheet so that I have a visual cue to go with whatever it is that I'm ordering. So the seeds I have purchased from Johnny Selected Seeds. They have like an incredible assortment, and they provide the most information about how to start your seeds successfully on their packages. I have ordered from Park Seed, Hazzard Seed, Floret, Swallowtail Garden, and Baker Creek Seeds. There are lots of other choices, varying quantity, meaning some of the sites with the biggest selection are geared towards farmer florists, cut flower farms. So you're talking about like a lot of seeds. The only seed that I ordered in what I would say would be more like a grower's quantity was from Hazzard Seed, and I ordered from them because they had this specific pansy colors that I was trying to find. So it was a lot more seed than I really needed. So I haven't had a bad experience with any of these. I would say of the list, Floret is most geared towards the home gardener. They are packaged, they come at a little bit more of a premium price point, and I'm gonna say that's probably because of the years of trialing that they've done, but also because they're kind of going and making these more home gardener focused sizes of packaging. So you don't get too many things, which I think is good and bad. Seed does not last indefinitely, so buying 200 plus seeds when you really only want a handful of plants is probably not the best investment. But like in the case of the pansies that I really wanted these colors, and I'll talk about that when we get to them in the list, it's all right to, I planted some extra flats of them and I'll give them away, or we always have like a garage sale in the spring, so I figured I would have like a little plant sale and sell some of the extras. The seed catalogs might be nice and inspirational, but all those photos exist online. Plus, if you just type the name of the plant and the variety into Google, you're gonna get like images, and you can find blog posts. And so I'm a big fan of doing my shopping through the computer. So I just, this anemone Mona Lisa bicolor, it's from Park Seed. It kind of caught my eye. They have been really slow to germinate. So we'll see, TBD on those. The amaranth, or amaranthus. Last year I grew hot biscuit. Hot biscuit and champagne are two that I use a lot as a cut flower. So last year hot biscuit performed pretty well despite me not giving it enough sun. The tree work that we're having done will help me by opening up more. I'm like a sun optimist. I think that because I wilt in the sun, I think that we must get enough sun for all the plants that I have planted. Not necessarily the case, but the tree work we're having done is really gonna like change the sun component of our yard. This year I added Coral Fountain and Marble Bronze. Coral Fountain, sometimes clients don't love the texture, like the droopy, dreadlocky texture of Amaranthus or Love Lies Bleeding, but I thought the Coral Fountain was really cool, and I tend to think of all Amaranthus, whether it's upright or the drooping spilling kind. I guess spilling is like a nicer design word. I tend to think of them all as foliage. They are really long lasting. They kind of, they help give your arrangement and your more delicate flowers some structure. So I'm trying these three. The common green and the common red, they're so affordable. We get them through the local Philly or New York wholesale market, and they come from generally Pennsylvania and Maryland. And there's probably some New Jersey growers too. So some things that are just so readily available to me, I'm not going to grow them because these are the colors that are interesting to me. Last year I had some success with a couple of colors in peachy kind of asters. So this year the only one I did was Tower Chamois. They're pretty foolproof. Like they're one of those flowers that makes somebody with very little growing experience like myself feel like they know what they're doing. I'm not a big fan of yellows, so I'll show you guys my, I also have like a color chart to make sure that I'm not buying too heavy into one color. I've had pretty good success with like creeping vines, and just there's like a bunch of wild clematis, autumn clematis, and porcelain vine on our property. So I thought I'll throw in some black-eyed Susan vine. So I got this Blushing Susie and Bright Eyes. The Bright Eyes is kind of cool. It's like sort of like a suggestion of that white and black anemone in Black-eyed Susan vine, but I've never seen it in real life, so we'll see. Calendula, Bronze Beauty. My experience with Calendula is that no matter how many beautiful photos you find online of it, they're never quite as dull and smoky as they are in the photos in real life. They are brighter, more orange, more vibrant. I also don't have like a ton of orange in my color assortment, so we'll see. Celosia, Pink Champagne. I'm not a big Celosia or Coxcomb fan as a garden plant. I think it's like such a cool flower to design with, but I thought this color was interesting. I decided to not start this clematis, which is Radar Love, which, let me zoom in a little more. So you can see it has this like cool, it's got like a teeny yellow buttercup type of flower, but it forms these really cool mop head seed heads. I'm not a big yellow fan just in general. So right now I don't have a good idea for where that plant's gonna go. So I don't have a plan to start it. I did mention that I'm gonna try growing some Coleus from seed. I was able to find, Coleus seed is actually kind of challenging to find. The big plant companies have their own branded seeds, which come with a royalty payment that is included in buying. It's like a whole thing. But I tried to find some colors that were familiar to me. This color that they're calling Crimson Gold reminds me of this one that I got last year that was called like Rusty Bucket. That, believe it or not, this like kind of rusty brick color looks really cool with pinks and lavenders and stuff like that. So these are all kind of new to me. They were very affordable seeds. And if you're new here, I live here at my home with my husband, Tim, who has many thoughts about plants and thinks that annuals are just a waste of money. And I really like a lot of annuals, so this was kind of like the compromise, is that I'm going to try growing a bunch of them from seed. So those are, I have mostly reds, chocolates, corals, because, you know, we have a lot of green already. Cosmos, I find Cosmos are another one that I think they go through some magic in the photo process. I planted a couple Cosmos last year and wasn't super thrilled with what I got. I'm trying this apricot lemonade. I would like to just see how it does. Double Click, Snow Puff, and Sonata White. I'm just, you know, still on the fence. Like last year planted maybe more pinky colors. And I think that I either didn't plant enough or I need to continually sow them because they just weren't that interesting they didn't have a lot of impact where I put them. Delphinium, I love anything black and white. The Magic Fountain white with the black bee is what they call the center. And then I just ordered the Magic Fountain mix. So I did have some good success with my delphiniums last year. And despite that, again, I didn't give them enough sun. Let's see. Dianthus, Benina, yeah. Dianthus, Sweet William, Carnation, really just like sturdy, steady flower. They do pretty well for me. I think I have one that I have forgotten. I found the seeds recently. I have a black and white Mistral. It's not I don't know. This is getting edited. But I have one more that's like a burgundy and white. Let's see. Foxgloves. Foxgloves perform really well on my property. That would be due to, I'm going to have to pay attention because they don't get quite as much sun as which is good for them. They need some shade. Some stuff I didn't think about last year growing from seed is that a lot of the foxgloves, hollyhocks, things, lupine, some of the stuff that I like is sometimes a biennial, meaning it needs a year. It kind of establishes this big, flat, leafy rosette, and then the next year it flowers. So I started my foxgloves, and they performed really well. The seedlings were beautiful, and then I realized I wasn't going to get any flowers, so I kind of needed somewhere to put them. So the plan for this year and going forward is, we got to have a battery change. Battery exhausted. All right, back with a fresh battery. So biennials, yeah, I think my new plan is to keep starting them each year and then keep kind of cycling through seeding different varieties. So this year the only two that I did were Apricot Beauty and Cafe Creme. So they performed well for me. I just have to wait a year for them to show up. Gara, this is something that I have in our more perennial grass garden, which is like right in front of my office here. The Gara can be like a little bit of a tender perennial here. Actually, the year, of course, that I'm starting it from seed is probably the year they're going to do fine. But I feel like I have maybe like a dozen or more, and I always have to replace one or two. So I figured I'll just start some from seed. I have like kind of nursery can sizes, and I'll just kind of like see how they do from seed. I like mentioned with the foxgloves, love hollyhocks. Last year, these are all new ones for me. The Chatter series, chestnut, maroon, salmon. Those are all kind of like nice, tall, big things. I did think about growing a lot of taller flowers this year because we are having so much like tree work done that I thought at least through like high summer it would be nice to have some stuff with some height, since we are still planning to change out our fence, and then we would be planting trees and like some foundational shrubbery, some privacy stuff. So at least for summer, I can have some tall stuff from seed. The apricot halo, man, fingers crossed. That looks very beautiful, very much my style. They've been a little, out of all of the hollyhocks I've tried, they have been the toughest. I misspoke. The Chatter's maroon has had really poor germination for me. Everything else is like taking off like gangbusters. The halo apricot was maybe a little on the pricey side for the seed comparatively, and medium on the germination. But if they grow and I love them, I can save the seeds this year. Majorette double champagne, and Zebrina is, if you're looking for some hollyhocks, that the Queenie series, and Queenie comes in like rose, lilac, some pinks. Those are not super tall, and then the Zebrina is it's such like a cute is the only way to describe it. It's it's tiny, and the flowers are gorgeous, really unique, and it blooms first year. Larkspur, smoky eyes, which is like a fancy way to say like dusky lavender, and then misty lavender, new for me, but delphiniums do pretty well for me. Larkspur, they're related, so I think we'll probably do okay. They are a direct seed though in the cool weather, and I'll say that of the things that I direct seeded last year, like just kind of following the directions, I don't know that I keep enough moisture in the areas where I've seeded. So my goal this year is to try to get, I had drip irrigation. I built it. I learned how to like install the whole system. I built a system for my Dahlia project last year. And my goal heading into March is to, if there's no blizzards and we don't have frozen ground, my goal is to start running the supply lines so that I can have drip irrigation everywhere and hopefully keep a little more moisture in some of the beds where I'm direct seeding, because it's just challenging. The one thing I'll say about growing inside is that it's pretty easy to run downstairs and check on the moisture in the seed starting mix. Lisianthus. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably already saw that I have had, Lisianthus has been a bit of a bummer for me as far as seed starting goes. It says 12 to 13 weeks out on the package. I'm going to go with the 22 weeks that the internet says. Lisianthus is a really popular flower among cut flower growers, farmer florists. It grows pretty well in most areas. It handles the heat of summer incredibly well, but it's apparently this thing that they all buy from plugs in plug form. They buy them from seed starters, people who grow the plants specifically for you. And I can see why. They're pelleted seeds. Here, I actually took some footage. So it's pelleted seed. So you're getting a good amount of seed in the teeny little pellet, and if you're just kind of resting it on top of the potting mix and keeping it moist, the seed would, in theory, you should have pretty good germination. I'm going to say that what I did wrong, because I really, really struggled to get, I think I sowed 144 plugs and got all of 23 plants, and my plants are primarily in the rose pink and deep brown, and the champagne and apricot were in a separate tray. And I think what happened was I kept things too moist, and algae took over and killed the first sowing. And then I did a second sowing, and that's when I got some actual seedlings. But they're so teeny tiny that it's easy to see how they could either be, if you didn't keep the mixture moist enough, the plant wouldn't thrive. If you keep it too moist, the algae and fungus and stuff takes over and damps off and kills the plant. So I can see why, if you need a lot of this, you go to a plug grower or a plug broker. But I haven't done a ton of research because I'm not a farmer, but I don't need 50 to 100, 200 of any type of plant. It's just not a quantity that makes sense for me. So I'm not willing to give up. I will say I'm very excited. I got most of my seedlings are this deep brown Roseanne. So that's a color I love that customers don't always love because it looks dead. And then the rose pink I'm familiar with. I can get champagne and apricot, and I can get it from the local growers, but it would have been nice, but it's tough. So now I know I'm gonna start it before Christmas, when I'm not doing anything else, and all I can do is babysit the plants. Nasturtium, Really easy to grow. It didn't grow any last year. I think I picked up just the one color. It's probably Floret. They do a great job of photographing the flowers and kind of color grouping things. So it is a good place to look for sometimes harder to find color combinations. Nicotiana. Okay, so that's how I say it, Nicotiana. Do I know if that's correct? Not necessarily. People say it different ways all over the internet, but it's flowering tobacco if you just don't want to try Nicotiana. I got Tinkerbell, Marshmallow, and Alata grandiflora. I think this is what I did last. I think I grew one, probably the grandiflora or similar, like a big white. It did really, really well. And the marshmallow, those colors are a little funky, but it's an easy to grow for me, so I thought it was worth giving it a try. See that hot pink in there, maybe not my favorite, but those other smoky, like kind of muted colors, really good. Let's see. Tinkerbell, that's from Floret. It could be a brighter red in real life. I did do some, but I'm hoping it's kind of that like muted brownish brick red. So that is why it's nice to try some of these things. Seeds are, once you have this stuff to grow them, if you're not sure about a color, like this is my year of trying more colors in things that I know, and then I can kind of whittle down what I like to grow. Nigella, let's see. Nigella, love it or hate it. I love the pods, don't love the flower. You kind of need the flower to get to the pod stage. So I had mixed results with it last year. All right, Pansy. I don't think I even ended up starting the flirty skirts because that was sort of the band-aid until I found some of the other colors I was looking for. Majestic Giants, Sherry, that's a mix from Floret. Just didn't plant a ton of it. The Terracotta, Antique Shades, and Tapestry mix are all named mix varieties, or they have some variegation to them. I bought them all from nurseries in the past, and Tapestry and Antique Shades are two that I really like for some specific containers I have. And last year I had to drive to like 3 or 4 different garden centers like looking for them, and ended up finding them at like kind of the premium garden center around here. So it just is like, I tried growing. I found the seeds. The seeds were big packs of 250, so I have several flats of each type. I can use what I want in my containers. I have some seed if I want to keep them, because I do like them for summer and for fall. And then I have some to sell at our yard sale. Same for the blueberry pie mix. They didn't feel very blue to me. They felt like all of these like kind of inky blue, purple, and blotch colors that I like. Again, I've paid a lot for these. Frizzle Sizzle Burgundy. Frizzle Sizzle's the name of the collection. It's for the frizzle ruffly edges. Last year I grew raspberry, and it performed really well just like in the beds, so trying that again. Cherry Caramel Phlox, gorgeous color of phlox. It was one of the flowers that did do okay for me last year. I just didn't give it enough sun. And I'm trying the Dulce de Leche, which that's Erin from Floret. Penstemon, I got this Mystica. I've gotten this in containers from the nurseries. It's really beautiful. It's got this like olivey black foliage and white to like purpley little white flowers, so grows really well. Poppy is one of those flowers that there's so much fun as a designer to work with, but they don't travel well. The ones that we get are generally we get them either out of Italy, or there is a grower in New Jersey that grows them. But they can be fragile and they can be tough to, they lose a lot of petals if they're already too open when you're buying them. So they're a teeny tiny seed. They're poppy seeds, if you've ever eaten a poppy seed anything. So I have a whole bunch of them. I have sort of been experimenting, just buying a bunch of different colors and seeing what works. They're just nice to be able to go out and cut in your own yard. When we buy them as florists, buy them in bunches, we usually buy them as like a 50 pack, and you can plan to get maybe like 30 to 40 in great shape with, you know, you just never know what you're going to find as they start to open. So, Amazing Gray. This one I think is like getting really popular. The seeds were a little bit hard to find and they kept selling out from some places. Angel's Choir, that's really beautiful. Bridal Silk, Cherry Glow, Bridal Silk, Cherry Glow, Giant Double. Those I all had last year. Hens and Chicks, I never got these to bloom, but a lot of the poppy seeds I just kind of direct seed in, and as I mentioned, I'm not entirely confident in the moisture in the soil to get the seeds going. Hungarian Blue, really pretty. That kind of performs really well. Jimmy's Flag and Jimmy's Purple Haze, similar color family. I don't think I had any success with Snowflakes. Mother of Pearl. The only problem I have with Mother of Pearl, like most of these are mixes, and I planted a bunch of Mother of Pearl last year and got primarily reds in an area where I was hoping for more of those like smoky, dusky colors. Pandora, usually like a little more jewel toned than this. The Pizzicato Oriental, that's a perennial poppy, I think. Oriental poppies usually are perennial, so I'll have to look at those seeds actually. Thai Silk, Thai Pink, and Apple Blossom. These are from Floret. These are just they're California poppies, so their centers are a little bit different. And I have to double check. I think that's the correct photo for Pink, but it looks like it should be called Champagne. So, Quinoa, Redhead. This is like Amaranthus, like they grow easily. It's kind of like a filler. Queen Anne's Lace or Didiscus Lace Flower. Floret had blue and pink Didiscus. I just put it all under Queen Anne's Lace. And then Dara, we know it as florists, we know it as chocolate Queen Anne's Lace, and like white side of the road Queen Anne's Lace. It's like if you cut it at the right time, it's like indestructible, it lasts forever. So the Lacy Pink and the Lacy Blue, if they perform as well, they're like just a great thing that you can, I started some and then you kind of succession seeded. So we'll see how that goes. Rudbeckia, Caramel Mixed, and Sahara, both of these are flowers that I buy in the middle of summer from local growers, so they're just pretty to have, and I like those kind of like sunset warm colors for middle of summer. Scabiosa Pincushion Flower, this is another one that I was pleasantly surprised at how well it did. I have Black Knight, Fata Morgana, Snow Maiden, Oxford Blue, Fama Deep. Fama Deep really can go blue. Maybe even a little more blue than Oxford Blue. Fama White, Salmon Rose. All did really well. They're not super expensive to buy cut, but I just like what they do in arrangements. They have really great, interesting buds. Their heads kind of curve, but they just kind of do like a nice gestural thing in arrangements. So we'll see. I think I'm 4 to 6. Yeah, I haven't started, but I should be able to start all the colors. Eileen, Blushing Lanterns. This is a Floret grab in like the filler area. I've seen it available a few other places. It's not a plant that I am super familiar with as terms of, like, maybe when it grows I'll be like, oh, that's what it is. From pictures it kind of feels like a little bit of like a wild flowery filler. Snapdragon. I don't actually know why I ordered these. I do really like Snapdragon. We get it cut mostly from Canada or California. It's like a durable flower, but the twiny apple blossom is like a dwarf, and it's a cool season crop, so I kind of just grabbed it to see if I could use it for some early season color in some of the places that I'm sort of just kind of rotating through plantings as I wait for more garden space. Straw flower, silvery rose. So I love straw flower dried and cut for wintertime, for wreath making, for things like that, but last year I planted apricot and white, and I just did not enjoy how the white aged. It grew really well. It grew really tall. We had so much rain, and I didn't cut it regularly. I just a lot of this stuff I want to kind of like grow and cut only when needed. And it just looked crappy. It got like kind of bruised from the rain and moldy and mildewy looking, so I don't think that I would grow white again. Silvery rose, let's just face it drew me in with the name. If it looks anything like that, I will be happy, but this is the only one I planted, so if it doesn't look great, doesn't hold up for, it's a pretty long, like it grew the whole season last year. So, but if the flowers look beat up and constantly need deadheading, it's probably not one that I'm going to continue with. Sunflowers, as long as I plant them where they're going to get enough sun, they do just fine. I, again, was looking for a lot. I tend to avoid the yellow colors, and just, grew some weird ones. Pro-cut plum. Somebody gave me white knight for free. Pastiche is like an interesting. Strawberry blonde's another really cool one. I don't need so many. The sunfilled green and the sunfilled purple, they're kind of like without the petals, so they're kind of cool and unusual. I'm almost like embarrassed to scroll down to show you guys sweet pea. So last year I only planted 2 colors of sweet pea, and I did not put them in a place that they got enough sun, so they did not do well. They really do need sun. But so this year we're gonna have more sun on the property, and also I have some really interesting options for multiple trellises. So I want to at least try to get a couple plants of each of these so I can grow them, see if I like the colors, see how they look on the different trellis options, and then kind of in the future narrow it down. I love sweet pea. I don't have a great, it may either nose blind to many flowers or just, can't really smell them very well, but sweet pea is one of the fragrances that really resonates with me. I love them. So they're not in alphabetical order, but I have Beaujolais, which is like a kind of Merlot wine, a pastel mix. They got messed up. Oh no, this is not Piggy Sue. This is Mammoth Mix. Because I just was looking at the seed packages last night. Molly Rilestones, kind of apricot cream, Miss Collier. Actually, this looks like a nice white sweet pea, but the packaging sort of scared me. They called it like a lime to cream. So, lime and cream, not colors that I can think of having a great location for in the garden. Turquoise Lagoon. Frankly, I just want to see if it really does turn turquoise. Now we have some florets, Topsy, and Balmoral. The Queen of England's like hunting area, maybe, I don't know. Piggy Sue and Bix. They look similar, so it's kind of like grow them, see which ones you love, and then just buy those going forward. No one really needs this many unless you are a cut flower grower. So we'll see. And then the pastel mixes, I don't tend to love mixes of seeds. I obviously like to have some control over what things are going to look like. So it's just sort of an affordable way to try some colors and see how they grow here, and, you know, then focus on more of those specific colors. All right, that didn't look at, you know, when I have it this big on the spreadsheet, it doesn't look as bad. So these are tomatoes that they're edible, but I regard them as they are ornamental fruit for designing. These are separate from, I have a couple of raised beds that I'm putting in this year to actually grow salad greens and some easy to grow veggies. This is my first year growing vegetables too, but these are ornamental fruits. So I think you can eat all of them. I have tried them. They just aren't as great for eating in terms of flavor, in my opinion, as they are for putting into arrangements. So Indigo Rose and Indigo Kumquat are determinate tomatoes, so pretty easy to work into as like an edible landscape element. The Sun Peach, I think, is indeterminate, so I'm gonna have to think about where that's gonna go. But it's just kind of, they're affordable, they're super easy to grow. So the Indigo Rose grew incredibly well despite, again, me not giving quite enough sun to it. So I'm optimistic to kind of mess around with these because I just think they're cool. Oh God, sorry guys, this is a long video. But we're at the V's, so we're getting to the end. Verbascum Southern Charm. So Verbascum is a flower that it's called Mullein. I got like just a smoky pinky apricot color from Terrain, which is a garden center and brand from the people who brought you Urban Outfitters and Anthropology, and their plant buying team does such a wonderful job, and they get many things exclusively, so sometimes it's worth it to splurge. So I got a Verbascum, a Mullein from them 2 seasons ago, and it's a tender perennial or biennial here in our zone. And I didn't keep very good records then, so I didn't have the name. And this is really, Verbascum Southern Charm is really the only kind of variety I've been able to find. In my experience, it does grow in like a kind of apricot. It looks like a teeny delphinium or larkspur, and it does have that contrast center in the eye. But this picture is kind of blurry, so, but let's see. But you know, it did grow really well for me. And I planted some and last year, and they bloomed first year, and then I have some other ones that didn't bloom that I got into the ground a little later, and they look really great. So I'm looking forward to some blooms. And it did, like, I cut a bunch of blooms off of it and it flushed back. So I'm hoping to do more of that, and I'm also hoping to find more colors of it if it does come in other colors. That one that I got was just so pretty, and it was really short-lived when I got it, so I don't know. All right, then zinnias I have a love-hate with. I have bought almost all of these in cut flower form. So the Aztec series is like the little teeny guys. Burgundy and Sunset, we'll see how they do. Giant salmon rose, illumination. Those are really big ones. They can sometimes show like a little bit of wear and tear. Queen lime blush and queen lime red. The queen lime series like remains like an incredibly popular zinnia just all around. There's also queen lime, I think just plain queen lime, and queen lime orange. These are the two that I like. I actually like queen lime red the best because it has generally like a little more of like a purple tone to it. Zinderella. These are like fancies. They're sort of like an anemone type of dahlia. They have like kind of, or a bomb type of peony. They have like a multi-petaled center and some bigger outer petals. Oh, I got 3 colors of Zinderella. Profusion double golden, Magellan ivory, profusion apricot, and Oklahoma ivory. Obviously, I do favor creamy warm tones, but nothing really venturing into the yellow territory. So these are, like I said, easy enough to grow. So if the colors work, perfect. If they don't, I won't grow them again. And then again, separate from any edible gardening that I do, these are just like ornamental foliage. Sorry. I have Invisalign. I just changed them, and Shisho is a tough one. But Shiso, really easy to grow from seed. Huge leaves, actually a little challenging to work into smaller arrangements, but the color, the Britain that I have more of it, and I got a few. I think I got another packet this year because I want to direct and continually sow it. Atriplex, another easy one. Mountain mint and common mint both grow just like everywhere here for us. The mountain mint sometimes, depending on the weather, can get like a cool kind of purple tone to it. So these are just, and then I don't think they're in here because I have I have basil and fennel, which I haven't done pictures of. So I have like maybe 6 or 8 different kinds of ornamental basil, and then I grow a ton of bronze fennel. We're in the city of Philadelphia, but we're kind of at the top of a big park, and we really try to have as many pollinators and things happening in the yard as much as we can. So I know they love the mint. They like some of the flowering basils, and butterflies in particular, caterpillar, love the fennel. So I grow the bronze fennel, and it grows like a weed. And if you like the smell of licorice fennel, then you will love that. It's just like a great texture. And actually still have some growing because it's been so mild this year. So let's see. Let me just kind of quickly show you the plan. So I'm sort of, the estimated last frost date, it's hard to bank on it right now at the end of January when I'm filming this. I can tell you it feels like it's going to be spring much sooner. It's been incredibly mild. We've hardly had any below freezing days and hardly any snow. But we've had really big snowstorms in March, so who knows. So I have 4/15 as the plant date. I don't know that that's achievable. I am going to be building, one thing that I sort of touched on at the beginning that I guess I'll come back to is that because I have a limited amount of growing space, I have to find some place to put these things. And I grew a lot of plants, and you can see I have many more to do. So I am building a cold frame greenhouse structure for myself. I would like to ultimately have like a real greenhouse, but we have more work to do on the house before that's a possibility. So I can pretty easily build myself a sturdy enough cold frame. So I think whether this plant date is achievable or not, I will at least have the space. I didn't end up using my seed starting mats that I have, but I can put them out and use them to kind of give some supplemental warmth to anything that I have to put out in the cold frame if the ground's not quite ready for it. So That's kind of the goal. Trying to keep a good record of germination and things like that. And then the only thing that's not on here, I just did the veggies because I ordered the veggie seeds separately because we weren't entirely sure if we were going to have a place to put the raised beds where they'll get enough sun. But and it's winter. I got bored, so I started everything really early. And I'm experimenting with a few different ways of like germinating things. I started all the ornamental herbs that needed to be started by just like multi-sowing, and I'm kind of doing the Charles Dowding. If you're not familiar with him, he's like an awesome garden educator from England, and he grows primarily vegetables, but he does this multi-sow thing where he just kind of multi-sows rows in trays and then pricks out the seedlings and then pots those up. So I tried that for my ornamental herbs, and then I also have tried just germinating the seeds in little takeout cups with lids and coffee filters, which is similar to like the paper towel Ziploc bag of germinating your seeds. It's just, it's really very easy to control. So, and I just did some amaranthus as an experiment with that, and it worked really well. If you're restricted in how much space you have to start things under lights, the thing I like about pre-germinating and things like that is, or the multi-sow, is that you can start a lot of seeds in a small space, and then you can pot up just the ones that work. So, because I really don't want to have like another experience like I had with the Lisianthus, which was a whole shelf of space with 144 sown plugs and only getting 23 plants after a month. So that kind of sucked. So we'll see. So I'm just kind of experimenting. There's obviously tons of information online on YouTube, even for different ways to start seeds. But I thought you guys might like to see the seeds that I'm choosing as more of a floral designer. But my whole garden's a cutting garden, so I thought you guys might want to see some of the seeds that I was attracted to. And then the last thing I'll show you guys quickly, which you definitely don't have to do, but if you decide to keep a photo of the flowers in your information, then the other thing that you can do is, let's see, let me pull it up. Is kind of, I pull things together in groups, and this also has perennial shrubs that I own and peony and rose bushes. So this is like kind of a visual inventory of my plants. So this is actually like a very abstract layout of a bed that I already have. I have the willow and I have these roses in place. I tried not to order too many plants in the middle of winter because it's easy to get out of control because you're just like dying to have plants and something exciting to look forward to. And then I have two of these peonies are already in place. The anemones are started. These are bulbs all planted in that area. So it's a way for me to kind of think like, okay, if I get those anemones to start, I can scatter some poppy seed. I can start a few poppies in plugs. So it just kind of helps me visually organize my thoughts. So just kind of how the colors play together. And this is a bed that's sort of in progress. Some of the peonies and roses are existing. There are a few more roses that I am adding in, and just like, it's just kind of a way for me to think about how they will go together. More smoky lavenders and purples. So where these go in the yard is still TBD. You can see that this is a color palette that I really need to chill with. This kind of like sunset color. I think I have 2 pages of it. No, okay, at least it's just the one. But there are similarities in this too. But yeah, it's just kind of a way for me to think about, like, if I'm adding a seed to the pile, if I'm out plant shopping, like, I can check this and make sure that I'm not duplicating something that I already have. And this is kind of like classic white. This is in 2 places right now in the yard, and ultimately I'll have to find like a better, like a more central location to kind of keep the color groupings together. But I don't know that I have a garden style or philosophy yet. I still think I'm thinking like a floral designer. So what I'm really thinking about is how will these grow together? And I will say that keeping this visual record of everything allows me to kind of better control the my imagination, and also, you know, like I know that I'll get peonies in April and May into like the first couple weeks of June. By June, the roses that I've had in place for a few years will really be taking off, and things like that. So you can kind of think about having color throughout the season, but still kind of operating within these color schemes. I don't think we're ready to talk about someone discovered bearded iris. Like, it's not a new discovery for me. It is just like my obsession with dahlias, or my obsession with roses or peonies or anything like that. I decided to buy a whole bunch of iris, but we'll do that in an upcoming video of flowering shrubs and perennials, maybe. And yeah, so I hope you guys are excited for the upcoming season. I know I am. The bearded iris, we're gonna just back away from that. That's not coming until fall of 2020, so we won't even have flowers on them until spring 2021 if I'm lucky. So that's another like long-term play, like the peonies. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed seeing what a floral designer is starting from seed for their garden. I will be back soon with my flowering shrubs and flowering perennials, which are also in spreadsheet form. And we'll just keep going on this garden renovation project. I think, as much as I know it's not going to be completely finished this year, I think this is the year that we're going to see like some really big changes. And I am very excited to work on it and document it and share it with you guys along the way. So if you love all things flora like I do, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're planning on growing any of the same things from seed, let me know. And if there's a seed or flower type, color, variety that you think I should check out, let me know. I don't think I can add any more this year, but I'll put it on the wish list. All right, guys, thank you. I'll see you soon.